Now I'd like to welcome our final honoree of the evening, the incomparable Joy-Ann Reid. Joy-Ann is a trailblazing journalist, a best-selling author, and one of the most influential voices in American media. As host of The Readout on MSNBC, she made history by becoming the first Black woman to anchor a primetime cable news show. On that platform and on many other platforms over her distinguished career, Joy-Ann has stood as a beacon of truth and a champion for justice. She has fearlessly examined issues such as racial justice, gender equity, and voting rights. She has always demanded accountability from those in power, even when it's ruffled feathers of the establishment. Joy-Ann recently announced that she is launching a new podcast. Will be a must listen. We're thrilled, really thrilled that she could be with us here this evening, and we're eager to hear her thoughts on the challenges and opportunities in the current moment to advance progress on justice and in this very challenging political environment. So please help me give a round of applause to Joy-Ann Reid.
Thank you so much. Well, this is a good-looking crowd. Should I put it here? Okay, I'll put it here. They gave me instructions, but of course, I don't always listen. Probably not why I'm in corporate media anymore. Good evening, everyone. And also, happy Pride. And also, happy Black Music Month. It is both. I want to thank Jocelyn and the National Partnership. It's such an honor. Thank you all for having me here. And as when I was growing up, one of my bucket list dreams was to be on Sesame Street, because I am kind of a Muppet a little bit. And so my remarks tonight will be brought to you by the letter E. E for equity. It's a word that seems to bother some folks for some reason. It's in the middle of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And one wonders why it is so troublesome to so many. Well, this organization, the National Partnership, as so many of my fellow honorees, and I want to congratulate my fellow honorees, they are incredible. And I think we're all in the process of forgiving the partnership and Jocelyn for making us speak after Bishop Daughtry. We forgive you for that. We're doing our very best. But this organization, in its original moniker, was founded, as many have said, in 1971. That is a year before the great Shirley Chisholm mounted her historic run for the presidency, at a time when there were very few Black women in college, very few women at all. It was before Roe versus Wade, for a time at least, gave women full bodily autonomy. It was shortly after, not long after, women who were married got even the right to have birth control. It was before the time when women could get and open a bank account or invest without a husband or a male relative's signature. That is where we were in the 1970s, not the 1870s, but the 1970s, when this organization was founded. Well, today, there are 127 women serving in the House of Representatives, including 3 delegates and the resident commissioner. There are 93 Democrats and 34 Republicans. There are 24 women serving in the United States Senate, 16 Democrats and 8 Republicans. There are 4 women on the Supreme Court, well, 3.5, because Amy don't act right all the time. I'm sorry. No, I'm really not sorry. She don't act right all the time. And women have risen to places of prominence in corporate America. Women have broken barriers from Hollywood to the C-suites and to Wall Street and all across this country. That is equity. When I wish you happy Pride, having a Pride Month, that is equity. Having a Black Music Month, that is equity. And yet, There is so much discomfort with that. And know and understand that those statistics I read you are one of the main driving forces behind the fight that we're in. The advancement of women roiled the patriarchy. It upset the balance because women vote differently from men. You heard my fellow honorees talking about the advancements in things like a living wage. Women tend to vote more in favor of things like a living wage because women have to make budgets work, whether they're married or not. Women tend to vote for things like increased childcare assistance because they need it. They tend to vote for more equity and more inclusion. They tend to embrace more diversity. And this is a problem for those in power who want the government to do only one thing, which is to cut the taxes of the rich or eliminate them and deregulate their industries. We are a problem. And so women's rise has been the fall of a patriarchal system that is very valuable to a certain set of billionaires. I will also note that when we arrived here, Bishop Daughtry informed me that the current regime, the current administration, is looking to remove the names of Harvey Milk and Harriet Tubman from Navy ships. They are in the John Lewis fleet of ships. They're also looking at potentially removing Medgar Evers' name. I will note that Harriet Tubman was born enslaved in the state of Maryland, which people keep forgetting is in the South, but it's a whole in the South, in 1822 and died in 1913, a war hero. Harriet Tubman did not just believe in equity, she lived it. She was an invaluable war hero. And so if the idea of removing her name is about restoring the warrior culture, well, what's more the warrior culture than a Black woman who was enslaved going back to the eastern shore of Maryland numerous times, freeing people who could then fight with the Union Army to defeat the Confederacy and take down the traitors who left our country behind. Harriet Tubman died in New York in 1913. Harvey Milk was born in New York in 1930. Look at how history rhymes. He was born in 1930. And Harvey Milk was also an historic figure, a man who ran 3 times to get into the California State Assembly before getting in. And then once he was in, used his position not just to inspire fellow gay men and women who finally could see themselves in power, but also to fight for basic equities in the system for everyone, for living wages, for assistance in education, for all the good things that are the reason he was assassinated. Taking their names off of those ships is meant to send a message to you that they don't matter, that their contributions don't matter, and that there's something wrong with equity. Well, I will tell you that I believe we are in a Shirley Chisholm, Harvey Milk, Harriet Tubman moment. Because these are people who didn't take their disadvantages as a reason to sit down. They took them as a reason to stand up. This is not a reason, right, to stand back. It's a reason to lean forward. They think that by erasing our names from websites that the government controls, that they erase our history. They do not. We still have our oral history. We can still speak. And while we can still speak, we can still tell our stories. They cannot deplatform us out of our rights. They cannot silence our rights away unless we let them. And so what I would call upon us to do is to do what Harriet did and to do what Harvey did. Fight like hell for the things that you deserve. And you deserve diversity, equity, and inclusion. And if they don't like it, some folks just gonna have to be mad. Thank you all very much. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for this award, and have a wonderful night.